consolidation process in which we have a combination of two companies to form a new company. It means, literally speaking, that we have A plus B equal C. That's a merger. So the results of this process, consolidation process, is called financially, is actually the creation of a new entity. Acquisition. It's again a consolidation. But in this specific case, we have a purchase of one company from another one. The result of this is that here no new entity is created. So when we have an acquisition, so A plus B will be equal to A or B. One of the two. Is it clear? So here a new entity is generated. Here, no new entity is generated. Simply one of the two goes into the other one. Okay? So when we have an acquisition, for example, let's suppose A acquires B, A will be the resulting one. B acquires A, B will be the resulting final one. So it's basically the same entity as before, but with the other one inside. So no entity creation here, entity creation here. Advantages and disadvantages. Advantages of, well, let's do it together. Mergers and acquisitions. So, what is the rationale behind this and this? Is basically to combine power and control over the market. That's the main rationale, right? That's why we do it. And the aim of this is to gain competitive advantage. So, this is definitely an advantage, right? The combination of the power, control, and possibly getting competitive advantage. Also, this too allows you to basically, let's say, increase value efficiency and saving cost. By simply acquiring knowledge that wasn't actually belonging to me before. I save cost because it's actually easier maybe to acquire that knowledge instead of doing research and development for example. Or acquire key personal people, engineers and so on, that are valuable, and I can acquire them by buying the part of the company that actually is good for me. Also, the third one has to do always with our issues of the economy of scales, right? Because by doing this, I can actually create easily economy of scales. Economy of scale generation.
What is the first word?
Increase value, efficiency, and saving cost. Economies of scale generation. I generate easily economy of scale. How do I do that? Well, I do this one by sharing resources, costs, etc., you know. This generates a gain for me, competitive advantage. Always.
What is the word? By showing what?
By sharing resources, cost, etc. Also, another advantage I have is that, well, let's say improving risk management. Of course, I need to do a smart move here and not acquiring something which is less valuable, or merging with something that is less valuable than what I have. Obviously, but let's say that we have good strategists at the board. So I improve my risk management simply because I do acquire knowledge that would be otherwise too expensive to develop or to acquire by buying it. It costs a fortune to outsource a risk assessment and so on and so on. Just to give you an idea, for logistics, risk assessment was, when it was that, 2012, yeah, in 2012 for logistics, in Italy was paid 1,800 euros per hour. The engineer that was doing risk assessment for that project. It's huge, massive cost. So of course sometimes it's more convenient to acquire that knowledge by having a company that is expert into this and so on. So it's huge, huge cost. Those people cost a lot of money, especially those related to risk, strategic management, and supply chain management. These areas are among the most expensive ones that if you want to outsource and buy the information and so on, you ask for a consultancy and so on and so on, they are tremendously expensive. So it's a good job to look for if you're interested in developing your knowledge for the future. But it requires a lot of study, but it's a good job for the future. So these are normally the areas where they are the most paid one. Because of course you might kind of guess why, right? Because if they get it wrong, any of them, you might have actually serious impact and consequences on your organization and so on. Of course, they take a lot of money, but they take a lot of responsibility on because they sign off and so on. So you understand why. So they live normally under a lot of pressure. So because it's tremendously, well, risky. Normally they have insurance and so on covered, you know, because you can't risk it. Okay, it's human. Okay, so also, for example, one thing you can actually kind of explore and kind of think about is tax advantages because for tax benefits are kind of interesting for those type of combinations here. I recommend you to look into what might be the advantage there because it's something that is worth to explore. Sometimes they do this like not really like it's real, but it works. They create what they call like, and they build tax shields. Look into this, it's interesting what they do there. So they have like a protection for taxes. Obviously, we have also not just good stuff to get from this, but also issues that are related to this type of, you know, combination and consolidation of companies and so on. The disadvantages are related to the very nature of the combination you have there. For example, one of the issues that normally is rather common, unfortunately, is that in presence of mergers and acquisition, especially in terms of acquisition, there is normally, statistically speaking, a loss of workers. Especially the more experienced one tend to find easily a replacement somewhere else because they didn't like the kind of shift, for example, in the management. So my company got acquired. I have 25 years experience in the field. I don't like this idea. I was very committed to this organization. I don't like those people who came over, and simply I decide to move. This is actually very common. So there is a lot of work that normally is done, especially after acquisition, from, for you it's very interesting, management point of view, which is retention. It's actually something you need to work a lot. And of course, this normally corresponds to loss of knowledge, which is the most valuable thing you have, knowledge, in a business. Because this one allows you to create a key competitive advantage. It's the same story always. Also, normally, because the nature of the, whatever it is, merger or acquisition, it's quite common that you generate frictions among the parties consolidated. So when you consolidate several parts, 2 or more, actually it's an issue because those parts tend to naturally create conflict. We mentioned this last time with joint venture, but here it becomes even more important because the joint venture has the nature of sharing the executives but keeping the two entities separate, right? So that was the idea. Here it's even worse because we merge the blocks. So here it's one unique block created out of two. And then of course frictions are very common because of several different reasons. The main reasons are related to corporate culture, but also national culture. Corporate culture has normally to do with management styles and everything you know from that class. Okay, let's put it this way. Management style, leadership style, whatever, so on. All that you have in that class is there. And national culture, because I can have culture which are very distant from each other. Think about Americans and Mexicans, for example, just to go to the example we know. Okay, their culture is definitely more distant than the culture distance you have between Americans and Canadians, US and Canadian. So it's Anglo-Saxon, the whole block in some sense, a bit more Frenchish up there, but in some sense kind of the same kind of cultural sphere. The one based on Spanish, Latin culture is completely different than that. Other issues is that the merging, for example, and here I think from the business operation point of view, what you're going to do with Bruce mainly, but business operations of similar entities create easily duplicates of functions, operations, and so on. Both entities they have the same departments and so on and so on. It's actually very difficult to recreate everything when you merge the two because you have departments running the same type of operations. It's a well-known problem, scheduling problem and so on and so on. In business operation are very common issues there. So, the other thing which is actually important is that normally when we talk about the mergers of large entities, they are normally linked to banks and huge credit, right? Because we know that normally those entities, as a business of certain size, runs on debt, basically, right? So it's heavily connected with the banking and so on. Now, imagine that you have an entity A and an entity B, you want to merge them through a classic merger between the two. What you want to get is that this one is linked to, I don't know, bank X, this one is bank Y. So what does it mean? It means that before you can agree on everything, but until the two creditors won't agree, you will not do anything because they decide, not you. So this normally, because it goes through a risk assessment and they will give the final word, creates uncertainty in the long term. Might take more than a year for them to come up with the right deal for both. This one might decide to sell the debt you have with them to this one. This one might decide to resell it to a third one, and so on and so on. Okay? So sometimes it takes long time, even because they are normally having huge debt in terms of amount of money, which is pretty normal, but that's what is the situation. So I'm merging two entities. Those two entities, they have as a collateral debt, and those debts need to be sorted at the financial level. And until you don't get the green light from the banks, you can run your operation together. but you live in a high level of uncertainty. So the uncertainty before the merger approval normally creates bad atmosphere in the working environment that might create losses. Again, so those entities that are normally going through merging and acquisition and so on, they normally suffer of high level of instability inside. Why? Because put yourself in the shoes of an employee and think about, okay, my company is being bought by, I don't know, whatever, another company, but there is the bank XYZ that is going to give the green light. And then you go to work and the green light doesn't come. And a month, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 6, and then you start to think, okay, if the green light doesn't come, we're gonna go bankrupt. And then 7, 8, so what is your natural reaction? Let's look for a new job, you never know. Or they might think about restructuring, downsizing, and so on to cut costs. It's a normal, so uncertainty related to the merger approval. Even the acquisition is the same thing. When we have big debt. Normally is the banking system. You have to think about all these entities, especially big like corporation and so on, as highly involved with the banking sector. The banking sector is the underlying, basically, carpet where they work. Without that one, needs. We don't do anything, because that's where the money comes from. Liquidity is coming from there. So you depend on them. Not to talk about when you raise the size and you have large corporations, where actually your corporation is attached to some rating. And that becomes even more serious. Why? Because then it steps into the stock market, financial markets, and so on, and those are known for not being very generous and nice people. Because of what they do. So you need to be very careful about downgrading and so on and so on and so on. So it creates a lot of uncertainty. And the uncertainty normally generates losses, and it generates normally kind of loss of competitive advantage in general for you. That's basically what it is. It's always like reducing your competitive advantage. Also, another thing that normally is not taken too much into account when we talk about acquisition, but is very important, is that acquisition or mergers leads normally to, generally, to reduction of flexibility. What does it mean? Well, it means actually a lot for the working environment. Software house, big one, has been acquired by another bigger software house and so on. And the new bigger software house is imposing now new protocols and so on. So the previous normally kind of protocols are not in place anymore and so on. Procedures are not in place anymore. It means that generally, normally, there is, because of the taking over, more control. More control normally is resulting in more, or well, let's say less flexibility and more kind of, let's say, type of oppressive management. It's quite normal actually. Then normally is physiologically phased out after a while, but in certain cases it doesn't. It's quite normal. So it's not that we are a special case or no. It's quite normal. You have to understand what is the attitude of investors. Okay? So think about, I'm acquiring this new business. Let me see really what they are doing. So there is a sense of over control. Once you have ascertained that everything is going well, you can, let it go. So normally, it's this type of processes lead to reduction of flexibility inside. So the organization becomes more rigid. So let me see what this Mexican really do when they deliver. Yeah. Do they deliver on time, or on time is in the Mexican on time? Because on time by American means on time, not approximately on time or about on time. It's very important. Okay? So, here you go. Off you go. Good luck. And now it's all on you. Enjoy the writing. And submit whatever you want today or Friday. And I'll see you Saturday for the feedback. And then I'll see you for the Vivas. And that's it. Yep. Unless you're sorry.